What is up, everybody? It's Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast, joined as always by the Senator Phil Perry, and this is the final podcast until training camp, okay? We're not going anywhere forever. But the Patriots called off their final minicamp practice, and then they wiped out their OTAs for next week. So they're on vacation, so might as well get our blow while we can, eh, Phil?
Got to do it. Got to keep the kids fresh for when the season comes back around, you know?
Yeah, when the bullets are flying for real. Any issue at all with Bill Belichick going soft like that and saying, fellas, we've had enough. Let's get out of here.
The one issue I could see people having with it is you are dealing with a very, very overhauled offensive coaching staff. And so you would, in theory, like to maximize your opportunities on the field with those guys, just so that by the time training camp rolls around, it all feels normal. Now, maybe they're already there. Maybe they know Mac Jones isn't going anywhere, and so he's the guy that they really have to continue to grow with and develop with. And when I say they, I mean Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. So maybe they're not concerned on that front, but to me, Tom, with so much change, and we've talked about the change to the terminology, the offense, maybe some scheme changes as well, I would get it if people out there were saying, well, wait, there's like another whole week of OTAs that they could take advantage of here. They're just going to say no to that?
Well, maybe, they look at it as, okay, diminishing returns. We've been busting our ass on this thing ever since we realized that it was going to be Mac, tutored by Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. And, you guys have done a good job. You get further along than we thought we're going to take. I would have confidence that would be where they most likely are. I'm sure that you do as well. People may have that.
I assume that's the case.
I'm sure that there's a lot of, no days off, all days off, apparently. No, it's crazy, Mike. No, right, no. But I think that we're going to get into this, and we're also going to get into Chris Sims' quarterback rankings and his just over-the-top gushing about Mac Jones. The more you look at it, Phil, the more I believe that Joe Judge and Matt Patricia are in the places they're in because of who Mac Jones is and what he's capable of. But before we get to that conversation, let's take 3 takeaways from each of us, or give 3 takeaways from each of us from this minicamp recently concluded. And I'm going to get you the first takeaway, Phil. Take it away.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to start with the quarterback. I'm not going to start with the coaches. I'm going to start with the quarterback because, to me, the quarterback is number one in an interesting spot in his quarterbacking life, Tom, where he knows he's going to be the starter going into the fall in June for maybe the first time since he was a high school kid. I think that's what we're talking about. I mean, even before he started for Alabama, we knew there was a competition there. He's trying to hold off a 5-star recruit. Obviously, he comes here with Cam Newton. He's splitting reps. I just think, whether or not that actually impacts his approach. And he told me today, when I asked him today on a conference call, he told me today it really doesn't. He's just always trying to be his best self. But I wonder if it's just subconsciously, it frees him up to try and do some things and test his own limits more so than he might if he knew he was competing for a starting job. Because what we saw from him in the OTAs and in the minicamp practices was a complete willingness to push the ball downfield, which he did have, I would say, in practices before the season last year. But Kurt Warner on the Next Pats podcast and others, that if they had a critique of rookie Mac Jones, that was usually it, was he had an opportunity to push the ball down the field here. That's NFL open. He might have left some meat on the bone. And we didn't see any meat left on the bone this spring. So to me, he was accurate. He was aggressive. He was acting as a coach on the field at times. We are seeing real growth from Mac Jones in year 2 already, which you have to be optimistic about if you're a Patriots fan.
And I'll get to my first takeaway in just a second. But yeah, the more I reflect on this and where things are heading and where quarterback experts, whether it be Chris Sims, who played in the NFL, Kurt Warner was a Hall of Fame quarterback, he just is not a second-year player, period. He's not. We can say that that's the year, but he plays like a 5th-year player in terms of acumen and intelligence. So treat him as such and give him ownership of the offense, which I asked him about today. And he says that he has, but I'm sure that he has ownership of the offense. in a way that Jimmy Garoppolo never even experienced when he was here. I can promise you that. And we get some great sound from Chris Sims on Jimmy Garoppolo compared to Mac Jones. That's coming up. My number one takeaway, Phil, is along the offensive line. We see Isaiah Wynn on the right-hand side, saw Trent Brown on the left. So something is afoot there. And it's going to be fascinating to watch how the offensive line plays out. And if they're deploying guys in different spots, could the offense that is being streamlined be being streamlined in a direction that makes the New England Patriots offense more along the same language as the Niners, as the Rams, as the Packers, all these other offshoots that have kind of spawned from the offense run by Kyle Shanahan. I'm sure, we could even go into, the Eagles now, the Colts now will probably delve into that a little bit with Matt Ryan, do some of the things that he liked to do there. So those two things, it's prevalent. The Patriots have been able to speak Swahili and the rest of the league didn't understand it and they could get by with that. But Swahili was really hard for some players to pick up and some never did. Now they're coming back to the King's English and they're going to run offense that guys might be able to understand. That's my major takeaway, overarching takeaway, like yours with the quarterback, as we come out of this little mini camp. Phil.
Yeah, I think when we talk about the streamlining of it, and I like you using the tackles as sort of a door into that conversation. But to me, streamlining the offense is a good idea. I think when we initially heard that there were some changes happening and it's a new system is the way Kendrick Bourne termed it at a charity golf tournament recently, that can get you starting to lean in some negative sorts of directions. Well, why? New system. System actually looked like it was working pretty well for the rookie quarterback and some of the Hunter Henry looked like he didn't need a new system. Kendrick Bourne didn't need a new system. So why a new system? But if it's a similar system, but the terminology is streamlined, and maybe the breadth of the offense, Tom, has been streamlined in terms of what's being required of these guys this time of year, training camp, early in the season, and they focus on a few things that they could be really good at, I think it could have a great impact on the rest of the offense. We talk so much about receivers and why they fail here. And maybe if things were a little simpler, closer to the King's English than Swahili or Mandarin, which Mac Jones gave us a little taste of some Mandarin today on the conference call.
Pretty smart.
He's a smart man. I mean, he comes from a smart family. I've talked to people close to him about this. His people who know him well really believe his IQ, not just his football IQ, his actual human IQ is well above average.
Let's drop that in right now. This a conversation during this morning's conference call with Mac, where his ability to speak Chinese was dipped into.
Last year before the draft, there was a video circulating feature you and Sophie greeting Chinese fans, in which you spoke Chinese pretty well, in my opinion. So, but that was it. There's no more updates since then. It's been more than a year. So your Chinese fans are wondering, are you too busy to learn the Patriots playbook? So you have to sacrifice one or another.
Yeah.
Or wondering, are you still working on improving your Chinese speaking skills?
Wo hen hao. I'm still good. But I have been busy. I wish I had more time to sharpen back my Chinese, but I do appreciate everyone that follows us internationally. And football is a great sport, whether that be in China or anywhere else. So hopefully we have a really good year and people can continue to watch us. And, one day I'll have some more time to sharpen back up on my Chinese.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, xie.
So we don't have to go too far in depth. That's just something that I would not be able to do. Maybe I could after a little while, but be that as it may, I can't.
You could do anything, Tom. You set your mind to it. I guess that now's a good time for my second takeaway, just to hit on the coaching dynamics. And it does look like Matt Patricia, after a couple minicamp practices where he was more involved offensively than he had been in the voluntary portion of the OTAs, it does look like he's in the driver's seat to be the offensive coordinator in 2022. We see him relaying plays through Mac Jones in his ear in between plays. They ended a period of practice on day one of minicamp, and those two guys give each other a fist bump. Mac Jones gives him a hug yesterday at one point after a play that was completely botched because of a botched snap count or something along those lines. And he was actually pretty ticked off about it. Mac Jones was, but 5 minutes later, he's giving Matt Patricia the old arm around the neck, and they're buddy. And so while Joe Judge still looks like the quarterback's coach and he is running the passing game portion of 7-on-7s, Matt Patricia is more involved, and Bill Belichick, while still involved offensively, and we saw a video of him snapping the football to Mac Jones the other day, he took a little bit of a step back during the minicamp portion of the spring here, whereas during the OTAs a couple weeks before, he looks like he's really almost directing the second to second, not operation, but he's making coaching. Mm-hmm. He's giving coaching tips. He's giving pointers to players very frequently. And just to contrast that, what we saw from the OTAs, Tom, with the second minicamp practice, where he spent over an hour, I would say, on the sidelines, away from everyone else on the staff, plopped next to the Utah State defensive coordinator, and those guys just sat there and talked, I would say, for over an hour for the vast majority of practice.
You remember he did that last year too, or a year or two ago?
I was having a hard time remember.
He did it with somebody.
I've seen this before.
He did do it before with someone. He just was way the hell. It was like, run it yourselves and see if you can do it, which is, again, fascinating. You're gonna have to figure this shit out on your own, boys. So I think that's a great observation, because these guys have to be empowered. And we're going to get to this as we speak about Mac Jones and Chris Sims' takeaways and the amount that they're going to put on him. But that is going to be a very interesting push-pull with the Patriots offense in general. Here you have a 23 or 24-year-old quarterback working alongside 45-ish-year-old coaches who have been head coaches. And he's already going 70 to 75 miles an hour. And these guys have been coaching in the NFL and around the NFL for a long time, but their dedicated coaching experience on the offensive side still has never in one single season been as immersive as Max was last year. They just have not been immersed in solely offense the way Mac was, solely this offense. So, as such, it's going to be interesting. There's going to have to be a lot of ego checking, I think, because Mac might know more than other people sometimes. And Mac might be wrong because he's 23 and he might have to check his ego if he thinks he's really right about something. And our brains aren't fully developed until we're 25 or 26 or 54. So my next takeaway, Phil, Kendrick Bourne is going to be a Deebo Samuel style weapon for the Patriots in 2022. It's my final takeaway. I don't know if that's my
That's
second
only your second
fourth.
one. That you need one more after that.
No, the takeaways are going too long. We're already 12 minutes in.
All right, so you like Kendrick Bourne as a Deebo Samuel. That would tie into our discussion about maybe the Patriots shifting to a Shanahan style thingy. Yeah. I have only one more takeaway left, but I'll give you two quick ones. Trey Nixon really looks like he can play. And we got some great sound from Jacoby Myers today saying, we get some talented individuals in this room. And don't get me wrong, we've got a brotherhood and we like each other and it's all hunky-dory in there. But we also all want jobs and we all have families to feed. And there's a number of guys in there right now, Tom, who look like real NFL receivers. And granted, it's mini camp and grains of salt and all that. But Trey Nixon, who was arguably their best receiver through 2 mini camp practices.
7th round pick, Phil, give the rest of the skinny on Trey.
7th round pick out of UCF, the Ernie Adams farewell selection. 6 feet, came out of UCF at just under 200 pounds. But really good speed, good toughness, good athlete, though he's not a huge guy. And I think enough versatility that you could use him inside and out. But we saw him making plays down the field in both minicamp practices. So, all right, if you're calling him an NFL receiver, Bourne's an NFL receiver, Myers, Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar. That's 5.
Gerson-ish.
No, are we forgetting somebody? Who are we forgetting?
Myers Bourne.
5.
Myers Bourne, Aguilar, Parker.
God damn, Phil. Hold on, John. Who am I forgetting?
Ty Montgomery, Matt Slater. All right, I'm going to go to the.
I'm on the roster. I'm on it.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah. Aguilar, Bourne, Nixon, Parker. Oh, Tyquan Thornton. Duh. Shit. Okay, sorry.
He ain't going to catch 20 balls this year.
3, 2, 1.
Don't even count it down because I hope that whole thing was stuck in there.
No, we're not.
Yeah, put it all in. Hey,
It's
we
already
forget.
gone too long. We can't keep it. You said it's gone
No,
too long.
people say, John, leave it. People need to see how the sausage gets made.
All right. Well, anyway, 6 guys between Trey Nixon, if you like him, Bourne, Parker, Aguilar, Thornton, and Jacoby Myers.
We
Can they
forgot
keep 6?
somebody.
No, that's 6.
There's Camille.
Robert Kraft. Oh,
Camille.
I thought you were going to put the owner in the receiver room this year.
No, Camille Harry is the number
Hey,
8.
Ty Montgomery, you want to throw him in there? Okay, now we've got 8 names.
Okay.
They're not keeping 8 receivers. So, yeah, I think Jacoby Myers has a pretty good point there. Anyway, Trey Nixon gives them real, even more depth receiver-wise, it looks like. And my final takeaway, I'm subbing in for you on this one, is Jack Jones.
Oh, that was going to be the only one that I had.
He looks like he can play. I mean,
Good job.
And they're using him early. They're seeing it too. Good skills in terms of getting his hands on the football. He's very, very thin. That's
thin.
noticeable. But he's been out there early with guys like Devin McCourty and Kyle Duggar. We talked about him a little bit on Next Pats yesterday. It looks like they're going to see if he can really play. So will be a fun guy to watch during training camp.
I'll give you one quickie too. The absence of Jim White still has me a little bit perplexed as to who's going to be that out of the backfield third down back who's a mismatch on third down, or are the Patriots veering away from that? Look, James White is coming back from a hip injury. I'm not saying that his not being there means he's not going to play, but is it J.J. Taylor? Is it obsolete? Is it, I mean, Phil,
Is it Ty Montgomery? Ty Montgomery, is that receiver, running back, hybrid, veteran. I've seen him get some early reps with guys that we would consider starters too. So I think they're trying to see what they can get from him. At least at this point, Tom, I would be a little surprised if it was Pierre Strong, just because he's been more with the scout team than he has been. He's been more with Bailey Zappi than he has with Mac Jones or Brian Hoyer. But he would fill that role eventually. I just don't know if it would be in year 1.
It's such a big brain responsibility. The third down back might be right there with tight end and linebacker as being just, they ask an unbelievable amount, right, Phil?
In terms of understanding pass protections.
Pass protection, when can I go
route.
out? Who's my guy? How do I run this option route? What depth? All that shit. It's just It's very complicated.
Yep.
All right, those are our takeaways, folks. Now, let's pivot to Mac Jones. And the more I reflect on this, he enables the number one story that we have focused on this offseason has been the Patriots offensive coaching staff and the fact that they are surrounding tender fledgling quarterback Mac Jones with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, who I asserted earlier just don't have the same level of offensive experience that Mac Jones was immersed in last year. Whether I'm right or wrong, I'm sure both those guys could make a case and disabuse me of that stance. However, the point is, they can do this because Mac Jones is as advanced as he is. And when we listen to Chris Sims, who puts out a yearly ranking of the quarterbacks, and listen to his description of Mac Jones, this is what Chris Sims saw from Mac Jones when he ran the tape back and scrutinized it a little bit more.
Yep. Number 18 we're up to now, and this could get some chatter out there because it was a huge quarterback class last year. We've already heard Trevor Lawrence. We've heard Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, who impressed you a lot, but did not impress you as much as this man.
No, I can't put any of those people in front of this guy yet. And I can't lie. Going back and watching Mac Jones, it's better than I remember. And again, this is the guy we were talking about really being the rookie of the year for the majority of the year. This is the guy that was the quarterback of the football team that we were going, is this the best team in football in the middle of the year? Okay, I just want to point these out. At no point did we think they were that great at receiver or explosive at any of those positions to go, oh, wow, this is a really well-oiled, explosive offense. Their running game hit moments. I mean, come on. How much? I mean, Mac Jones is a rookie. They can put everything on him. It was as much pressure as far as a system and a team and a city and a fan base can be on a quarterback than we've ever seen, let alone the pictures of his body, and you can't take him before you take Trey Lance or Justin Fields. He had all the pressure on him. And then he had to play with, play a real system without being like managed nearly to the degree or massage, kind of like, hey, you got to learn these plays. This is real stuff here. And you got to read these and really be a pro quarterback. Like, week one, you got to be ready. Week one, we need to be a pro, and we got to be able to run the 2-minute, and we need to be able to depend on you on 3rd and 4 that you'll throw pinpoint passes for 5 yards like Brady did in year 15 of his career. I mean, that's basically what he was asked to do.
Yeah,
with no down the field threat to scare people. So that's where when I went back and watched him, I went, damn, Max, it was better than I even remembered. And I think incredible accuracy. You talk about the pocket. He's a natural in the pocket. We talked about it coming out in the draft, and I think he'll even get better. But again, another guy that I know it's not the greatest athlete, but he's a way better athlete than he gets credit for. So, man, his movement in the pocket always, it allows him either the extra second or just find a clean spot to now make the appropriate throw down the field. I mean, incredible touch, incredible anticipation. Pinpoint accuracy, like I was saying, with any intermediate throws. Do I wish his arm was a little bit more stronger or explosive? Sure. But you know what? Going back and watching it and watching all his throws again, I went, yeah, his arm, for some reason, is better than what I picture it in my mind at times. Made a lot of big-time throws down the field, but not necessarily big-time players like I'm talking about. Had a lot of big-time throws and plays dropped. And balls where you go, man, the ball is on the money here. This is the third 30-plus yard throw he's made of the day, and they didn't make the play to help him out. So there was a lot of that. But still makes a lot of big-time down-the-field throws. Maybe the best rookie decision-maker I've ever seen.
Phil, I asked Bill Belichick about collaboration, and he, of course, said we collaborate with all of these quarterbacks, no matter who it is. They will have a hand in it. And Mac did say he has ownership of the offense, but I really think that it's going to be his offense in a way that, for instance, San Francisco's would never have been Garoppolo's when he was there. Or, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that he'll have an opportunity to shape it to his likes and dislikes.
And he's empowered the whole team. He's basically empowered the team because he's as smart as he is to do what it's doing.
Oh, he's allowing them to make all the changes they're making, because if he was of a different mind, he would not. They would have to baby him a little bit, and therefore,
if it took 6 weeks for him to beat out Cam Newton last year, and then he, it just wouldn't look the same. It's because he's so advanced. He opens the door for them to have Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as the people in his ear. It doesn't matter as much because they have him.
I agree. And if you had another second-year quarterback, you'd be really up a creek, I would think, this year. But here's why I like, and this is something I guess we'll touch on periodically throughout the offseason until maybe week 1. But if they're going to this wide zone running, play action off of it, motion heavy, under center heavy, play action heavy, quarterback friendly kind of offense, I won't say it's offense for dummies, Tom, because it can take a dummy and make him look like a pretty good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But it's taken good quarterbacks and made them really, really good. And so that's why I kind of like this approach. And I guess it would be the approach that I would favor, whether I had a really smart guy or I didn't, because I think if you have a really smart guy, he can take you to another level, the way Aaron Rodgers has, not saying Mac Jones is on Aaron Rodgers' level, but he's taken that offense to another level. Jared Goff, I don't think anyone would say is, a Mensa candidate among NFL quarterbacks, but he's taken that offense to the Super Bowl and to really high heights statistically when he was in LA. So I think that offense could work if the guy was not the brightest in the world. I think the fact that he is really bright could mean that if that's the offensive scheme that they start to lean on a little bit more, it could do wonders for their team. I really believe that.
Here's where it's really interesting to listen to Sims describing what Mac Jones was asked to do in 2021 compared to a couple of the guys who were ranked right beneath Mac Jones. Jones was 18, right behind him was Carson Wentz, an MVP candidate who's walking around with a $160 million contract or whatever it is, was at 19. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, who has quarterbacked the team to the Super Bowl. We know him well here. He was the would-be successor to Tom Brady, and didn't obviously work out that way. But this is a description of, first, how Mac Jones will improve relative to the other rookie quarterbacks that came in at the same time, and also how Mac Jones was treated by the Patriots offensive staff relative to how Garoppolo and Wentz were treated.
You like Zach Wilson as a quarterback. He was your number one quarterback coming out last year. He goes, Sergio Farrell says that Zach Wilson was hands down, you said, the best rookie quarterback over the last 2 months. How is it that Mac Jones is ranked above him? Do you truly believe Mac Jones will be a better quarterback than Zach Wilson in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's from where we are right now, yes, I cannot put Zach Wilson there yet. I just can't. Yes, like down the stretch, did Wilson make more wow plays and have wow moments? Yes. He also made more dumb mistakes and probably forced some balls into some windows that I wouldn't, necessarily agree with either.
Yeah.
All right, to be fair there.
Decision making is not just a throwaway skill.
Exactly
and
right.
Being able to process quickly, that's just not a thing that all quarterbacks will eventually get to.
100%. 100%. So, it's a very good question. But, I'm not sold that, yes, Zach Wilson will definitely be better than this guy this year. Now, I think this guy's going to get better too. This guy's smart. I hear what he says. He realizes he's got to throw the ball a little bit with a little more power and strength in his arm and be a little more explosive that way. So he's aware of that. So I wouldn't be shocked to see if the ball, like Joe Burrow, from year 1 to year 2, where all of a sudden, his arm looks a little stronger this year. There's a few more power throws in his game. Mm-hmm. He's no idiot here. He self-evaluates. And then, hey, the other thing too is, just again, how he was trusted. If you go back and watch games and how it played out, the way the game plays out, I sit here and go, man, the Patriots trusted Mac Jones more than the 49ers trusted Garoppolo or the Colts trust Wentz. There's no doubt about it. The way they called plays, certain situations, the plays they called in those situations just told me that they trusted Mac Jones. Too many plays with Garoppolo, it's like, whoa, there's 2 shaky plays in a row. It's 3rd and 5. Let's just throw a fucking screen and hopefully we get it. If we don't, we punt away. The same thing with Wentz. It's like, just, let's just block it up and send somebody deep and let him throw it over there. And then there's Mac Jones. They're like, it's 3rd and 4. Let's call that like on the left side, the guy that fakes the slant and goes back out, and there'll be a guy running the out route over the top and tell him to read that. And if he doesn't like it, we want to come back to the middle of the field. We got another 2 or 3 guys coming into some tight areas there, and we want him to make that throw. And to me, that's where there's a difference between him and, even though his talent's not as good as Wentz right now, but he's way more trustworthy with the ball. He's more accurate. And, with Garoppolo, again, I think he's more talented and smarter already. So that was kind of easy that way.
So if they're streamlining it, Phil, maybe that occasion where they say, okay, it's 3rd and 4, we're going to run a whip route over here with an over route over it. And if it's not open there, Mac, we're going to have you come back here and look at this cluster of checkdowns and weak side throws. I mean, he can do it, but if they streamline it so that's not necessary and they can still be as effective or more effective, it's really fascinating. It's like Belichick used to brag about, hey, we only ran cover 2 when we were with the Giants. Simple base, everybody understands it offense, but they did it, defense, but they did it so well that they were impenetrable.
Here's why I like the idea of Mac Jones in that kind of offense, is because the guys who really do take it to another level and the guys who are great in that offense, I would include Stafford in that conversation, given what he showed us last year. The guys who are really great and that separate themselves from, I would say, the Goffs or the Garoppolos are the guys who on 3rd down, 3rd and long, whether it's 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 10, they have the ability in the drop back passing game to do all those things that Chris Sims describes. So this offense can be quarterbacking for dummies because you get the defense so aggressive against the run that it opens up these wide ass open windows for you and these nice short easy throws that allow your receivers to catch and run because there's no one within 12 yards of them, and you move the chains that way. But as nice as those numbers look as you pile them up, inevitably you run into 3rd and 7 And that takes away those 3rd and long situations. You can't run play action anymore because the defense isn't expecting run. They don't care if you want to run it on 3rd and 7. Congratulations. You've just now forced yourself into a punt.
Now you have 4th and 2.
Now you right. So those are the guys that really take it to the next level. And Mac Jones, to me, based on what Sims is saying and based on what we've seen, he has the ability to win as a drop back passer to be successful no matter the situation in that kind of scheme, which is what you need. And I think it's why guys like, McVay sour on Goff eventually, and why Shanahan sours on Garoppolo and they look for more eventually, is because those guys just aren't the diagnosers, the quick trigger quarterbacks that have that kind of processing power to win regardless of situation.
It's fascinating to hear Chris Sims talk about the second-year jump that Mac Jones is inevitably going to be making, and saying, hey, Joe Burrow, because I believe Joe Burrow is going to be in the top 5 of Chris Sims' list. He has only the final 4 to unveil. I don't see a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, or a Joe Burrow yet. There's somebody else hanging out there, but he is already in 5, 6, 7, and 8. Chris Sims had Brady, Rodgers, and Stafford, and I'm forgetting who else. But I find the list interesting because you got Mac Jones at 18. Right ahead of him are Curtis Mayfield, Baker Mayfield. At 17, Curtis Mayfield's a great soul guy. Blues, soul, I don't know, R&B. Kirk Cousins, 16. Ryan Tannehill, 15. Matt Ryan at 14. Deshaun Watson at 13. Kyler Murray at 12. Derek Carr at 11. Lamar Jackson at 10. Dak Prescott at 9. Where, and you're not looking at it, I am, so it's hard for you.
I'm looking at a lot of different things right now.
All right, well, call that thing up. I could put Jones ahead of Mayfield and Cousins. I could definitely bring Kyler Murray down. I don't think I could put him ahead of Tannehill or Ryan. I think in his ceiling, he could be as good as Prescott in a way, production-wise. He could be a top 10 quarterback, Mac Jones, without a lot of things having to go strange. Your thoughts?
It would not surprise me if we are talking about him in that way at the end of the 2022 season.
But he's where he belongs right now, right?
I'd have him higher, not a great deal higher, but I would have him. I can tell you right now who I'd have him ahead of. I would have him ahead of Tannehill, and I would have him ahead of Matt Ryan. I think what
Tannehill really discredited himself tremendously in the playoff game. So I might think about Tannehill too. Yeah,
that playoff game was rough, and he's another guy, and I would have to go back and look at the numbers, but my brain seems to recall that he's one of these guys who really benefits from play action because he's got a really great run game. But he might be another one who on 3rd and long struggles a little bit because that's just not his game. I think Chris Sims loves Mac Jones. It's clear from everything we're hearing and reading. And I think he's just not ready to go all the way. He's not ready to go steady with Mac Jones for some reason. I want him to project a little bit more because some of these guys that he's around right now, Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, we know who these guys are. He's way too close to Carson Wentz and Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion. If you're projecting at all, if you think Mac Jones is that good as a rookie, and I understand the coaching element of it and how that might impact his development. And so if that's where Sims stands on this, then okay. But I think physically he's going to be better, Tom. I think his arm's going to be a little bit stronger. The weapons around him are clearly better. And he's going into his 2nd year. He should understand more. And so I'm projecting a significant deal of improvement going into year 2. So I would have him ahead of Tannehill, ahead of Cousins, ahead of Ryan, ahead of Mayfield, well ahead of Garoppolo and Wentz.
Would you say ahead of Ryan?
I would have him ahead of Matt Ryan. I would. All
right. So I guess this is where I push it to. I would have him ahead of Murray.
You would. Okay. So I wouldn't yet, but I think he's close. I think I would put him
Prescott, Lamar Jackson, and I think Derek Carr. By the end of the year, you could have. I'm not going to say that. Derek Carr's weapons are too good. By the end of the year, I'd be, he's got 5,600 yards and max at 3,700 people. You thought he was as good as Derek Carr? It's going to be tough to make a case there.
Well, hey,
but
can I just tell you one thing real quick?
Yeah, of course.
You want to know where Chris Sims had Joe Burrow ranked last year?
21.
17.
Ha!
So not 18, but 17. And you want to know who he was around? Carson Wentz, Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill. Those guys are all in that 12 to 18 range. And those guys are all back there again in 2022. So, this is what I'm saying. We know what those guys are. We know who they are. Mac Jones has all kinds of room to improve the same way Joe Burrow did last year. And I don't know if he's going to make a Burrovian sort of leap. He doesn't have a Jamar Chase to throw to, but his receiving group has gotten much better.
Lamar could be in trouble too. He's got nobody to throw to.
He started to show that he could actually, miss time because of injury, which it shocked me that it took that long into his career, but he missed time last year. I thought he was actually really good before he got hurt, and so I would still have him ahead of Mac. I won't tell you where I have him on my rankings, Tom, because I would like to do something this summer on it, I think. But in terms of breaking it down just into broad categories, elite, very good, good, average, below average, 5 quarterbacks, 5 tiers, 32 quarterbacks. I would have Jones solidly in the good category. He's above average to me already, and he will be for sure in year 2.
Feels like a perennial low Pro Bowl player. Mac Jones is going to play. Mac Jones will have 6 Pro Bowl nods by the time he's done. I'm not saying he's playing in the game. 6 Pro Bowl nods. No all pros, 6 Pro Bowls. All right, folks. We're going to see you in a month.
Why do you hate Mac Jones? Why do you got to put a ceiling on? Why do you hate Mac Jones? Why do you got to put a ceiling on Mac Jones?
I just think that people like that type of thing to suck on for the next few weeks. And then I'll forget that I said it. And
you said he'll never be an all pro.
Phil, you got anything planned for the summer? A lot of golf, a lot of kid rearing.
Yeah, both of those things. I'm also going to start a 10-part series on why Mac Jones will eventually be an all pro. I will try not to fall down while running, and that'll probably be it for me.
Do you and the Skull Crusher want to come down and play golf?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Since the pod is going up, belly up for a little while, we're going to do it on a Tuesday or a Thursday around 10, which is when we usually pod. Tuesday or a Thursday around 10. We'll do that at LeBaron Hills Country Club. And folks, important to note that in just 2 weeks' time, June 23rd at LeBaron Hills Country Club, the much talked about, much discussed, much looked forward to Patriots Roundtable. Be myself, Jeff Howe, Emerson Latzia from DraftKings, and we'll see who else we can get down there. Phil, we'll see. You never know. There might be conflicts with Early Edition, which Phil has been doing a tremendous job in frequently hosting. But be that as it may, it's going to be 6 to 8 at LeBaron Hills Country Club in Lakeville. Watch our Twitter, Facebook, and all that stuff for further details. We're going to do this to help raise money for one mission, playing in a golf charity tournament, 100 holes in one day on August 4th. And we're going to have a nice about a half an hour, 45 minutes roundtable. We'll go over all the stuff that you guys want to get to. Quick little trivia contest, and then zing zang, we'll do some giveaways. All you have to do is have a donation. You decide the amount. So see you in a couple weeks. Phil, was that a good promo?
Loved that.
Right.
I'm fired up.
I don't know how many people we're going to get. It's funny. How many people do you expect? I don't know, 20? But when I did trivia night a couple years ago, we had 50 or 60, huh?
I mean, thousands listen to this podcast, so hopefully you got a lot of space. That's all I'm saying.
All right. See you, everybody.